No warning, no countdown, no explosion in the sky, no voice announcing what is about to happen. 1 second, the world is normal. The next second, Earth stops spinning. Not slowly, not gradually, not gently, instantly. At this very moment, the planet beneath your feet is rotating at over 1,600 kilometers per hour at the equator. You don't feel it. You never notice it. Because everything, the ground, the oceans, the air, your body, is moving together. Motion has become normal, until it isn't. Imagine sitting in your room right now, your phone in your hand, your breath calm, your heart steady, and then, without any sound, the rotation of Earth suddenly drops to zero. Physics does not ask permission. When the planet stops, you do not. You are still moving eastward at the same speed you were a fraction of a second ago. That means your body is suddenly traveling faster than a bullet train, with no ground moving beneath you anymore. In that instant, every human, animal, building, tree, and drop of water is violently thrown sideways. Cities do not shake, they are ripped. People are not pushed, they are launched. Skyscrapers shear apart at their foundations as inertia tears them loose from the Earth's crust. Anyone near the equator is hurled across the land at more than 1,000 miles per hour, smashing into anything in their path before they even understand what's happening. There is no time to scream, no time to run, no time to react, because this is not a disaster that arrives, it is a disaster that already happened. The ground beneath continents fractures instantly. Mountains crack like glass under stress they were never meant to feel. Entire cities become debris clouds within seconds. And that's only the beginning. Because while the solid Earth has stopped, the atmosphere has not. The air keeps moving. At terrifying speed, the planet suddenly finds itself wrapped in a global windstorm moving faster than the strongest hurricanes ever recorded. Winds roar across the surface at over 1,600 kilometers per hour, fast enough to peel asphalt from roads and strip soil from continents. The sky itself becomes a weapon. Air pressure collapses in some regions and spikes violently in others. Buildings implode. Forests are erased. Nothing standing upright survives. This is not weather. This is planetary inertia unleashed. And the oceans, they do not stop either. Every ocean on Earth continues racing eastward, suddenly freed from the grip of rotation that once kept them balanced. Walls of water rise. Not waves, but moving continents of ocean. Tsunamis thousands of meters high surge across coastlines. They don't crash, they consume. Entire countries vanish beneath water in minutes. Islands disappear without leaving a ripple. Coastal civilizations, which include over 40% of humanity, are wiped away almost instantly. Yet strangely, this nightmare was once feared long before modern science. Thousands of years ago, ancient civilizations believed Earth's motion was sacred. The Egyptians thought the sun's journey across the sky was fragile, that if the gods ever paused its movement, chaos would swallow the world. In Norse mythology, the end of days, Ragnarok, began when the natural order stopped. Even Aristotle once debated whether Earth could ever cease motion, concluding that, if it did, life would end in violent confusion. He had no equations, no satellites, no physics models. Yet somehow, he wasn't wrong. Because motion is not optional. Rotation is not decoration. Spin is what stabilizes everything. And when spin disappears, the planet's balance shatters. But here's the truly terrifying part. The destruction we've described so far, the winds, the oceans, the flying cities, that's only the first few minutes. Because after the chaos settles, after the dust falls, after whatever remains finally stops moving, Earth faces something even worse. A sky that no longer moves. A sun that never rises or sets. A world split permanently between fire and ice. But before we go there, we need to understand something even more unsettling. Earth has stopped spinning, but it has not stopped changing. And the forces now building beneath the surface will reshape the planet forever. In the next part, we'll witness something almost impossible to imagine. The oceans abandoning the continents, the atmosphere redistributing itself, and gravity beginning to rearrange the world. Because when Earth stops spinning, the planet doesn't die. It transforms, and humanity is not ready for what comes next. At first, after the planet stops spinning, it feels like the worst has already passed. The winds begin to weaken, the debris settles, whatever is left of the world grows eerily silent. But silence does not mean safety. Because beneath that calm, something massive is happening, something unstoppable, something slow enough to feel gentle, yet powerful enough to rewrite the shape of Earth. The oceans are still not where they belong. For billions of years, Earth's rotation created a force called centrifugal effect, a gentle outward push that made our planet bulge slightly at the equator. That bulge wasn't just rock, it was water. The oceans were pulled outward, spreading themselves around the middle of the planet like a belt. That rotation is gone now. And without it, gravity begins correcting what spin once distorted. Water obeys gravity. Always. And gravity wants the ocean somewhere else. Slowly, almost politely, the seas begin to move. Not as waves, not as tsunamis, but as migration. Entire oceans begin creeping away from the equator. Water starts flowing north and south, inch by inch, hour by hour, pulled toward the poles where gravity is now slightly stronger. At first, no one notices. Then coastlines begin to change. The sea retreats from beaches, harbors empty. Ships are left resting on bare ocean floor. People who survived the first catastrophe watch in confusion as water vanishes from their shores. But it isn't disappearing. It's relocating. Across the planet, trillions upon trillions of tons of seawater are slowly crawling toward the poles. And when they arrive, they pile up. At the North and South poles, oceans begin stacking miles high. Not waves, walls. Two colossal hemispheric oceans form, swallowing everything in their path. Entire continents begin to drown from the edges inward. Europe loses its coastlines. North America floods from the north. Asia vanishes beneath rising polar seas. Meanwhile, something equally terrifying happens near the equator. The oceans drain away. What was once blue becomes exposed seabed stretching for thousands of kilometers. Ancient ocean floors, untouched for hundreds of millions of years, rise into daylight. Skeletons of extinct creatures lie scattered across the mud. Vast trenches open to the sky. The equatorial regions become a cracked, salty wasteland. No water, no rain, no life. Earth is no longer a blue planet. It becomes a planet of two oceans, and one endless desert wrapped around its middle. But water isn't the only thing on the move. The atmosphere follows. Air, like water, once relied on rotation to stay evenly distributed. Without spin, air pressure begins shifting toward the poles. Oxygen concentrates. Storm systems collapse in some regions and intensify in others. Near the equator, the air grows thin. Breathing becomes harder. At higher latitudes, air pressure increases dangerously. Human lungs, evolved for balance, struggle in both extremes. And then the day stops moving. Literally, because Earth no longer spins, the sun freezes in the sky. One side of the planet faces daylight forever. The other side never sees the sun again. There is no morning, no evening, no nightfall, no dawn, just eternal day and eternal night. On the sunlit side, temperatures begin rising immediately, not slowly, relentlessly. With no rotation to distribute heat, sunlight pounds the same land hour after hour, day after day. Temperatures climb past 50 degrees Celsius, then 70, then higher. Oceans near the daylight side begin to boil. Water evaporates faster than it can return. Clouds thicken, but without weather systems they don't travel. They hover, trap heat, turn the bright side into a planetary furnace. On the dark side, something opposite unfolds. Without sunlight, heat escapes into space. Temperatures plummet. Within weeks, the surface freezes solid. Carbon dioxide turns to dry ice. Oxygen begins to liquefy. The atmosphere itself starts falling out of the sky. Snow doesn't fall here, air does. The night side becomes a frozen tomb, silent, airless, deadly. Between these two extremes lies a narrow boundary, a thin twilight ring between day and night, a place scientists call the Terminator Zone. It is the only region where temperatures might remain survivable, a strip of eternal dusk circling the planet. No sunrise, no sunset, just dim orange light forever. If humanity has any chance at survival, it's here. But even this fragile refuge is not safe, because beneath the crust, something ancient has begun to awaken. Earth's interior was never meant to experience this kind of stress. The sudden halt of rotation has changed how mass is distributed. Pressure builds, tectonic plates strain, and deep below the surface, the planet begins to respond. In the next part, we'll descend beneath the ground itself, to witness earthquakes without end, volcanoes rewriting continents, and a planet literally reshaping its skin. Because Earth is not dead, it is adjusting. And adjustment is violent. When Earth stopped spinning, time itself didn't stop. But the rhythm of life did. For billions of years, every living thing evolved under one simple promise: day would end, night would pass, the sun would return. That promise is gone now. On one half of Earth, the sun hangs motionless in the sky, frozen at the same angle forever. On the other half, darkness rules absolutely. No stars rising, no moon crossing the sky, no sense of passing hours, just endless light and endless night. At first, people think they can adapt. Humans are resilient after all. We've survived ice ages, volcanoes, plagues, wars. But we have never faced something like this. Because biology depends on cycles. Your body clock, your circadian rhythm, is tuned to a rotating planet. Without sunrise and sunset, the human brain begins to fail. Sleep becomes irregular. Hormones collapse. Mental stability weakens. People forget when to eat, when to rest, when to think clearly. Within weeks, survivors begin experiencing confusion, paranoia, and hallucinations, not from fear, but from broken biology. Even those in safe shelters begin to unravel. Plants suffer first. On the daylight side, crops are burned alive under unending sunlight. Photosynthesis goes into overdrive, then collapses. Leaves scorch, roots dry, soil sterilizes. Forests don't burn, they bake. On the dark side, plants freeze instantly. No light means no energy. No energy means death. Within months, global agriculture is gone. No wheat, no rice, no corn, no food chains. The collapse is total, and as vegetation dies, oxygen production plummets. The air grows thinner, harder to breathe. Yet temperature remains the real executioner. On the sun-facing side, heat has nowhere to go. Normally, Earth rotates, spreading warmth across oceans and winds. Now it doesn't. Heat accumulates. Surface temperatures soar beyond what human skin can tolerate. Metal expands, concrete cracks, electronics fail. Even deep underground shelters struggle as heat seeps downward. At the center of the daylight zone, temperatures climb high enough to boil water at sea level. Rain becomes impossible. Moisture evaporates before clouds can even form. The land dries into cracked stone. On the night side, the opposite occurs. Heat bleeds away into space unchecked. Temperatures fall below -100 degrees Celsius. Then lower. The ground freezes kilometers deep. Glaciers advance not slowly, but relentlessly. The atmosphere itself begins freezing and settling onto the surface. Nitrogen snow, oxygen frost, air turning solid. Breathing becomes impossible. The dark side becomes a vacuum cemetery, and between these two dead worlds lies the thin Terminator zone, humanity's final hope. A narrow ring where sunlight skims the horizon forever. Here temperatures hover near survivable levels, but survival doesn't mean stability. The temperature difference between light and dark creates monstrous pressure gradients. Air rushes constantly from the hot side toward the cold. Permanent global winds howl non-stop. Not storms, not gusts. A continuous planetary scream. Wind speeds reach hundreds of kilometers per hour. Shelters must be carved into rock. Any exposed structure is shredded. Life here becomes existence under siege, yet people try, they migrate. What remains of humanity moves toward the twilight band like refugees chasing a dying sun. Cities form in caves, in tunnels, under mountains. The surface is too hostile, but even underground, Earth is not calm, because something beneath, the crust, is breaking. When the planet stopped spinning, it didn't just change the surface, it changed how mass presses downward. The equatorial bulge begins collapsing inward. The crust slowly shifts. Tectonic plates grind under unfamiliar stress. Fault lines that were quiet for millions of years awaken. Earthquakes ripple endlessly. Not once, not occasionally, constantly. The ground trembles day after day. Volcanoes begin erupting along new lines. Magma finds pathways where none existed before. Lava floods valleys. Ash chokes skies. And something else begins to happen. Something invisible but fatal. Earth's magnetic field weakens. That field exists partly because of the planet's rotation driving motion in the molten outer core. When spin disappears, the dynamo falters. The magnetic shield thins. Space radiation leaks in. Solar particles strike the atmosphere directly. DNA damage increases. Cancer rates skyrocket. Electronics fail without warning. Satellites die silently in orbit. Communication collapses. Humanity becomes isolated pockets of survivors clinging to a broken world. And through all of this, the sun never moves. It never sets. It never rises. It simply watches. In ancient history, people feared a day when the sun would refuse to travel the sky. The Aztecs believed the world would end if the sun ever stopped moving. They weren't being poetic. They were intuitive, because motion is life. Stillness is death. And Earth has become still. But even now, even after everything we've lost, the worst has not yet arrived. Because deep inside the planet, something fundamental is failing, the very system that keeps Earth geologically alive. In the next part, we'll go beneath the crust, into the core itself, where Earth's heartbeat begins to slow. And when that heartbeat fades, the planet's fate becomes unavoidable. Deep beneath your feet, far below cities, oceans, and continents, Earth is alive. Not alive like animals, alive like a machine that has been running for over 4-5 billion years. At the center of the planet lies a solid iron core, hotter than the surface of the sun. Surrounding it is a vast ocean of molten metal, the outer core, constantly churning. That movement, driven by heat and rotation, creates something invisible but essential: Earth's magnetic field, a shield stretching thousands of kilometers into space. It deflects solar radiation, protects the atmosphere, guards life from being stripped away particle by particle. For most of human history, this field was invisible and unquestioned. But now, Earth is no longer spinning. The motion inside the core begins to change. Not instantly, but noticeably. The liquid iron slows, convection weakens, the dynamo stutters, and the magnetic field begins to fade. At first, compasses behave strangely. North wanders, then reverses, then becomes meaningless. Auroras appear in places they never should, over deserts, cities, equatorial skies. Beautiful, terrifying, a sign of protection failing. As the magnetic field weakens, the sun's true nature reveals itself. The sun is not gentle. It is a constant nuclear explosion throwing charged particles outward at millions of kilometers per hour. Normally, Earth's magnetic shield bends those particles away. Now, they punch straight through. Solar radiation slams into the upper atmosphere. Molecules break apart. Ozone collapses. Ultraviolet light floods the surface. Skin burns in minutes. DNA mutates. Cells fail. Cancer becomes inevitable. And worse still, the atmosphere itself begins to leak. Particle by particle, the solar wind strips away oxygen and nitrogen. This is not theoretical. We have seen it before. Mars once had oceans, rivers, a thick atmosphere. Then its magnetic field died. The sun stripped it bare, leaving a frozen red desert. Earth is now walking the same path. But unlike Mars, Earth is still geologically active. And that creates a new kind of horror. As mass redistributes toward the poles, pressure inside the mantle changes. Magma pockets destabilize. Supervolcanoes, long dormant, begin to awaken. Yellowstone, Toba, Campi Flegrei. Their eruptions are not dramatic explosions. They are planet-altering events. Ash blocks sunlight across entire hemispheres. Temperatures plunge in the twilight zone. Food production collapses completely. Breathing becomes painful. The sky darkens even on the daylight side. Human survival shrinks to days, then hours. Civilization ends not with a bang, but with suffocation. Still, some humans endure underground. Generations are born who have never seen a moving sky, never witnessed a sunrise, never felt a normal breeze. Their world is tunnels, artificial lights, rationed oxygen. History becomes legend. The old Earth becomes myth. And yet, above them, the planet continues to change. The equatorial regions sink, the poles rise. Earth's shape becomes more spherical. The crust cracks under stress it was never designed to handle. New mountain ranges form. Others collapse. The map of Earth becomes unrecognizable, and time stretches forward. Thousands of years pass, then millions. The sun continues to brighten, as all stars do with age. The permanent day side grows hotter. Oceans evaporate. Water vapor escapes into space. Hydrogen drifts away forever. Earth begins drying out, slowly becoming a world of stone and salt. The night side freezes deeper. Carbon locks into ice and rock. The climate engine dies. The planet loses its breath. At this point, Earth is no longer a living world. It is becoming a monument, a silent reminder that planets must move to remain alive. Ancient philosophers once believed motion was the essence of existence. Aristotle said, "That which does not move does not live." He never knew about magnetic fields, or molten cores, or solar radiation. Yet he understood the truth. Stillness is not peace. Stillness is decay. But there is one final question, one haunting thought. Could this ever happen? Could Earth actually stop spinning? And if so, what would be powerful enough to do it? In the final part, we'll confront that possibility. The cosmic forces capable of stopping a planet, the history of near misses, and why the universe is far more dangerous than it appears. Because Earth's spin is not guaranteed forever, and one day, far in the future, it will slow. Not suddenly, but inevitably. By now, Earth no longer feels like home. It feels like a warning. A world frozen between fire and ice, a planet that survived asteroid impacts, supervolcanoes, ice ages, yet could not survive stillness. And that raises the most unsettling question of all. Could this actually happen? Could Earth ever stop spinning? Not suddenly, not tomorrow, but ever. The answer is uncomfortable. Because Earth is already slowing down. Right now, every single day. The moon is stealing our planet's momentum. Through tidal forces, Earth transfers rotational energy to the moon, pushing it slowly farther away. In return, our planet's spin decreases. One day becomes longer, not by seconds, but by milliseconds. So small we don't notice, but over millions of years, they add up. 400 million years ago, a day on Earth lasted only 22 hours. Dinosaurs lived on a faster spinning world. Earlier still, days were as short as 6 hours. Earth has been breaking since its birth, and one day, billions of years from now, the planet will become tidally locked, just like the moon is locked to Earth. One side forever facing the sun, one side forever in darkness, not through violence, but through inevitability. When that happens, oceans will migrate, atmospheres will shift, climate will fracture. Life, as we know it, will end, not with fire, not with impact, but with time. History teaches us something terrifying. Most extinctions didn't come from explosions. They came from slow changes no species could outrun. The oxygen crisis that killed early life, the great freezing events, the gradual poisoning of oceans. Life doesn't fear monsters, it fears imbalance, and rotation is balance. This is why scientists study exoplanets so carefully. When astronomers find worlds orbiting distant stars, the first question is not size, not distance, but spin. A planet that doesn't rotate properly cannot sustain life. It overheats, it freezes, it breaks itself apart. Earth is special not because it exists, but because it moves, because it turns, because it shares heat, because it breathes, because it never stands still. And maybe that's the most profound lesson of all. We often think of stability as safety, but in the universe, motion is survival, stillness is death. Our planet lives because it never stops. Every sunrise, every sunset, every ocean current, every breeze, every heartbeat of life is powered by motion that began 4-5 billion years ago. A single cosmic spin started it all. And as long as Earth keeps turning, we are here. So the next time you watch the sun rise or feel the ground beneath your feet, remember something extraordinary. You are standing on a planet, traveling through space at thousands of kilometers per hour, spinning, flying, dancing through the void, perfectly balanced, perfectly alive. And if that motion ever ends, so does everything we know. Because Earth doesn't need to explode to die. It only needs to stop.